Hello, Arty. How nice to see you.
Likewise, we've been planning this since last year, since the conference in September last year.
That's right.
So today we're here with Lesley Cooke, who's been using the Bach Flower Remedies since the last 30 years. And you are registered a Bach Foundation Registered Practitioner since 2014. So we'll be talking about 3 key remedies for coping with fear in a time of world crisis.
Indeed, yes.
And you also, you've got a lovely Facebook page as well, At Home Bach Flower Remedies, which is, I love your posts because there's always a lot of inspiration with them, because you've got a picture and then you've got a story. Because a lot of times when we talk about the emotions, it's difficult to identify yourself with emotions, but you come with a picture, don't you? So
Yes, I hope that does help.
definitely. So one of the reasons why we were doing this interview was to talk about also space to think.
Yes, thank you.
Which is your book, which you've published, which is why I thought about doing this interview with you, to talk about these 3 key remedies. And I'll start off with the one that is extremely useful for me at this moment, and a lot of people as well, which you've got a lovely picture and a quote in your book for Aspen.
Yes.
Which talks for itself. And you've got my favorite author, and everybody loves Eckhart Tolle. So I'll just read this in terms of people identifying, well, in your words or the quoted words of Eckhart Tolle, instead of fighting the darkness, you bring in the light. So Aspen is a fantastic remedy for fear of the unknown. So if you are experiencing fear of the unknown, definitely try taking Aspen. That's my favorite remedy for fear to be able to cope in this time of crisis. So I'll hand it over to you, Lesley, to discuss some other ones.
Yes, Aspen is a very useful remedy, particularly when you're feeling that you're not quite sure what you are frightened of, when you have this sort of strange sort of overhanging fear that you don't know quite what's ahead. You have a premonition, shall we say, that you just don't feel quite comfortable. And so it's often used when children, for instance, have wake up from nightmares. They don't know what they're frightened of, but they're in that sort of state of panic. So yes, Aspen is certainly one of the group of fear remedies. There's 5 in actual fact, but a couple I thought we'd talk about today. One of them is Mimlus. And Mimlus is very helpful when you know what you're frightened of. You're frightened of catching a virus. You're frightened that something's going to go wrong. You're frightened there won't be enough food in the shops. You're frightened that you're going to be kept in lockdown longer than necessary. Any situation where you know that what you're frightened of, you can actually put a name to it. You're frightened of dying, perhaps. Then you would use Mimlus. But on the other hand, if you were frightened more on behalf of your family, then you would use red chestnut. So for instance, if your parents are living a long way away and you're frightened during a time of lockdown that they're not being helped, they're not being supported by friends or neighbours, and you can't get to them, so it's them you're worried about more than for yourself, then you would go for red chestnut. Or if you were worried about your children going out and mixing with other children, either at school or congregating in the park when they shouldn't be, again, your fear is for them rather than for yourself. So red chestnut would be an ideal one to choose. So that would be the 3 that we would perhaps think of at this particular time. But there's a couple of other remedies in the fear group as well, which we could talk about later if you wanted to.
No, yeah, that's really good. So it's nice to be able to understand how the Bach flowers, there's 38 of them, yet this is the group that we chose to talk about today, is specifically on fear. And we've chosen 3 remedies. So Aspen for that kind of foreboding, that just not knowing what you're scared of, waking up with that anxiety. and also after a nightmare, as you explained, and not being able to explain why you're fearful. And then Mimlus, yeah, it's a fantastic one for named fears, and not only during the time of crisis. Actually, you can take it any time when you are aware of what you're scared of. And I love Red Chestnut, when you're scared for your family members, especially with this quarantine and not being able to see them. And you see people in care homes as well, isn't it? That people are visiting them and not.
Yeah.
It's a work. It's actually a time of heightened fear and anxiety.
It is. And, you know, fear is very bad for us because it lowers our immune system. And that's the last thing we want at this particular time. So anything we can do. And of course, that's the beauty of the Bach Flower Remedies, is that, you know, they're very simple, they're very gentle, you know, they're completely sort of non-addictive, they go alongside any medicine. So if you can identify what your emotion is at this time, and you take some of these remedies, you will find they will just help to boost your morale, raise your spirits, raise your vibrations, and so that in itself will have an advantageous effect on your immune system. It will raise your immunity. And also, of course, in a time of stress, the body is not making serotonin, which is the brain's calming factor. And again, some of our problems these days are that we can feel ourselves rising into this state of panic, which is not, you know, whether it's panic for our children or any of our loved ones, it's just not helpful. It's not helpful for them, and it's not helpful for our bodies and our immune system either.
I love what you've just said. It's I can again relate it to myself when I get up in the morning, and just for the purpose of everybody to see, this is the kit. So when I take these 2 drops of Aspen in the morning, it's an instant emotion of calmness. I just need it first thing, and then I'm fine. It's not every day, but you're so right, because if I didn't take it, I think I would carry on with this feeling in my heart, and that would not allow me to be in peace. So it's as instant as that to raise my vibration, or more than that, is to quieten the anxiety as well. So you can see yourself feeling that fear, but it doesn't affect you anymore, which I think is fabulous.
I think that's right. It's the fact that, you know, the source of the concern is still there, but instead of you feeling sucked in by it, when you've taken the remedies, you feel that you can actually, you're more like a cork bobbing along the ocean. You know, the ocean is still there, but you're able to sort of just, you know, ride the waves and not be sucked into it. And I think that's very important. Yes, I do.
Yes, so before I want to talk about your book in specific, but let's just finish off the other remedies that you said you wanted to speak about, which come under the fear category. So we've spoken about the 3, but, you know, it's nice to complete the whole aspect of that.
Yes, there's 2 more in that group. One is called Cherry Plum, and that's for the fear that when you actually feel very vulnerable and you're trying to keep it down and out of sight so that you don't want to look at it. But the trouble is it's inclined to bubble up and make you want to burst out. So for instance, if you were, for the sake of argument, queuing in a supermarket and somebody, or outside a supermarket, and somebody tried to butt in, Cherry Plum would help you to stop wanting to lash out, because you know you shouldn't lash out, either verbally or banging them with their trolley or whatever. But because we feel so frightened and vulnerable and we're keeping it pressed down, Cherry Plum stops us feeling that fear. It stops us overreacting and losing control. So Cherry Plum's a very good one to remember. And the other one is Rock Rose. And I should mention, for those of you who've heard of Rescue Remedy, both Cherry Plum and Rock Rose are in Rescue Remedy for their help with fears. And Rock Rose is when you're in a complete panic, when you can literally feel yourself just about to lose control and you're trying to keep it in, but you're really very close to having a panic attack. And so Rock Rose is brilliant for that as well.
Definitely. So just to show everybody as well, sometimes it's nice to see. So this is the Rescue Remedy, and a lot of people might be aware that it's comfort in a bottle, and it's the yellow bottle. which does have the latter two that you explained. So thank you. And yes, so another way to be able, so we have mentioned the 3 key remedies for times of world crisis, but another thing that it would be nice to talk about is this particular book, because the reason is because sometimes you might not have access to the remedies, or you might have a consultation with one of us and you might have your personal mix, but then something else comes up that takes you off guard, and you don't have access to them. But I feel one of the lovely things about your book, Lesley, is that not only does it explain the remedies, all the 38 remedies, it's, as you can see, they've got some lines where you can reflect upon the remedies, and it's just lovely to be able to tune into your emotions. So I feel literally a space to think, reflect, isn't it? It's all about giving yourself that self-love, to give yourself that time to be able to discover what you're feeling, because half the problem is we're just covering everything up. Everything is so, even though we are at home, we've got more time, but in our head there's so much happening, and we're not allowing ourselves to take that space and that time out. So that's why I thought it's a really good idea just to journal, or get a book like yours, so that we can understand what we're going through. And that's why Dr. Bach as well, isn't it? Dr. Bach, he actually created these 38 remedies because they correspond to all the human emotions. So at one point we'll be going through them, and even though you might not be able to access the remedies, just identifying the emotion you're going through will help to a certain level to create a little bit of calmness and balance.
I think that's right. I think it's a form of mindfulness, because, some of the leading exponents of Buddhism, like, say, Thich Nhat Hanh or Pema Chodron, they say that, when you're upset by something, it's, rather than try and dismiss it or repress it, it is better to actually sit with it and just think it through, and just allow yourself to feel upset. And I think you're right about the journaling, is that when you're writing something out, it just gives you a chance to, quieten down and actually sort of be very sort of mindful about it and work out what it is that really is upsetting you. And also, I think you might find, for instance, that you'd think, right, well, I'm going to write this particular entry under Aspen for the sake of argument, because that's what I think I'm feeling. And as you're writing out your feelings, you think to yourself, actually, what I really need here is Mimlus, or what I really need here is one of the other remedies. So it helps you to think through the whole process. I think that's, quite helpful. And also, I think another aspect of journaling is that once we're over something, over a fear or whatever, and we're back to normal, we tend to forget how bad we felt about it. So if we go back to our journal and look and see how we felt, it reminds us how successful that particular remedy was, and also that it didn't last forever, and that we did manage to get through it that time, so we'll get through it again this time.
I completely agree. As being as a Bach Foundation Registered Practitioner, we had to do that anyway with the 38 remedies. Journal, I think they're very key. Everybody's like the centre is very key on journaling and understanding how to be able to be educators. We need to understand the remedies in a holistic manner.
Yes.
Journaling has been a tremendous source of personal insight. It's fantastic. And also research suggests that not typing as such, but it's a process from your head through your arm, through your fingers, and then writing it down helps in a way to release that distress as well. So it's
really,
it's amazing. Gratitude
yes.
journals. We've got emotional journals over here, the one like similar to what you've created, but even gratitude or anything that you're able to write down, your brain is able to process it in a manner than just thinking about it. Typing it out. It's that writing. It's something to do with our innate ability to express and to release. I guess it's more the release rather than anything else, isn't it? Because once you've written it down, you've dissociated as well. so you can carry on in a more productive manner.
Yes, that's true. You feel that you sort of shed a load in a way, don't you?
You do.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's true. And of course, in a way, this is why, someone, for instance, having a consultation with you, Arty, will find it's healing even before they get to having a bottle of remedy mix, because most of us do not have the space to be heard. People either don't listen, or they're too busy, or we're too busy ourselves to actually talk things through with someone. And so if you haven't got someone that will listen and hold the space for you, writing it down is another way of allowing yourself to be heard.
Yeah, and it's creating a space of being heard and no judgment.
Yes.
Because that's a tremendous skill, to hold a certain safe space where we as ourselves, as practitioners, we just get out of the way. We can't even use the term prescribe, it's selecting the remedies.
Yeah.
So it's all about empowering you to decide yourself what is best for your own journey of self-healing. It's got nothing to do with us. It's more holding that space, isn't it? And that's why I love space to think, because
yes. And I think that's the other beauty of the remedies, is they're such a simple system. Yeah. I think another thing you see at this time, people are being so anxious and afraid and caught up in so much that's going on. So although they might know, and they can find articles on it and Google it, they might know there's things out there like meditation and mindfulness and yoga and all sorts of things, but they haven't got time to learn it because they need a solution for now. And the beauty of the Bach remedies is that they're very simple to learn. You can teach yourself, but the solution lies in just 2 drops from the bottle. So if you do nothing else today, for the sake of argument, you can get hold of a bottle, you can take a couple of drops, and you have an instant, comfort and solution. Whereas learning something like meditation or mindfulness is going to take you weeks, if not months or years. And that's the beauty, I think, of the system, is that, as you say, as practitioners, we're not only holding the space, but we're helping people to learn about doing the system for themselves, so they can sort of select remedies for themselves and bring about an instant resolution.
I completely agree. Since the last few weeks, I've been having so many more consultations for that same reason, because I do EFT and mindfulness, meditation, reflexology, but suddenly people just want the bottle. I mean, I've actually learned how to send the bottles through through the Royal Mail as well. So you can actually just put them in a little envelope and put them in the post box. So that's the only thing that's working right now. Or one of the things that are still operational. So, and you as well. So you were mentioning that you can actually post these out worldwide.
I certainly can. Yes.
So anybody that needs a book to reflect on their own emotions. So the Bach flowers are not only exclusive to Dr. Bach. It's human emotions that he tried to portray. So it's the entire system of self-healing. We're using the Bach remedies, but even though you may not decide to take them, just understanding yourself and understanding them will lead to that inner peace as well. And of course, taking them is an added bonus.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I think that is the beauty, is that once you've started taking the remedies, you understand more about yourself and what presses your buttons and so forth. And so it encourages you to learn not only more about the remedies, but about yourself. And obviously, shall I say, that sort of the better we can be as human beings, the more it ripples out into the world, and then we have sort of hopefully a more wholesome effect on those around us than what we might have sometimes in our worst moods.
Definitely. So it's getting this book, getting the remedies is not only an investment for yourself. It's an investment to be a better mother, a better child, a better parent. So it's that ripple effect. And the more you can, as you said, affect people around you, those people will affect the other people. So it's a collective responsibility that we're fulfilling, just to look after our own emotional needs, which we often find easier to neglect.
Yes, I think that's right. And one of the reasons I put this book together was because as you sort of indicated earlier, each of the remedies has a quote by a well-known author or poet or philosopher. And it was seeing those quotes online over a period of time that made me realise how common those thoughts and fears and emotions are to all of us. And it occurred to me that people who may have heard of the Bach Flower Remedies may have used Rescue Remedy, but wouldn't sit down and look at a textbook, although there's plenty of excellent textbooks and they're all highly readable, so I can recommend that you try. But I thought this book, if it was just very, very simple, with room for journaling, it would just encourage people to sort of just make a start. So that, for instance, if you had, say, friends or neighbours who know you're interested in the Bach Flower Remedies, but can't be bothered to sort of get involved themselves, but if you were to, for the sake of argument, give them one of these books as a birthday present or a Christmas present, they might not start reading it thinking about the remedies, but by the time they've read these famous quotes and start to think a bit more about themselves, I think it's a way into the system.
I completely agree. That's when I saw the book, I was so excited because it made it so relatable.
Oh, good.
That's why, as we were explaining, yes, taking the remedies, it's a very good way for that instant relief. But reading the book and journaling your emotion is even better, getting into that habit of asking yourself, how are you feeling, naming your emotions, and that in itself will be a source of comfort.
Yes, I quite agree. Yes, it's. I think everybody these days, and not just in this time of crisis, although perhaps that's highlighted it, but everybody feels that they want to do a bit more to leave the world in a bit better place than they found it. And if that means starting with me, starting with oneself, I think everybody's looking for ways that they can just take one more step along the road, to be honest.
Definitely, no. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome, Arty. It's lovely to talk to you.
Likewise. So just to summarize, we started off with talking 3 key remedies to cope with fear in a time of world crisis, which is still transferable for any time. So if you're hearing this at a later stage, it'll still help you. So we spoke about Aspen, and then Lesley spoke about Mimlus and red chestnut.
Correct, yeah.
Yes, but there's there's a total, there's a system of 38 remedies, so it corresponds to each and every emotion. So yeah, I'll put our details at the bottom, so feel free to contact either of us, get Lesley's book, and book a consultation with either of us.
Thank you very much, Arty. That's very kind of you to have invited me.
Thank you.